Welcome to NHL Draft Pros. And as always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the like button to help us grow. Thank you so much. The WHL's crop of 2023 NHL draft prospects are an impressive group, and I'm excited to have as a guest Donesh Mazloum, who is a scout, a Western scout for Future Considerations or FC Hockey, the website. And welcome to the show, Donesh.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Mark.
So, we were talking earlier before we recorded here that the Dubs are pretty stacked this year for prospects, and you're getting lucky to go out there and see them. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a pretty special group. And we've kind of seen it coming for a little while, coming through the minor hockey ranks. So I'm excited now that it's here, and now it's these guys' draft year, and it's been as advertised for some of the top end guys, and we're seeing a few kind of sleepers come out of nowhere. So it's even better than expected, and it's going to be a fun year out here for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. You must be, have a good time going out there to the games. Like you said, you go to all the Edmonton games, right?
Yeah, I'm out here in Edmonton, so I'm going to all the Oil Kings games. We got spoiled here in the summer as well because we had the Hlinka Gretzky was out here and the World Juniors, so I got to go to those in the summer as well. So I already got a good base on most of these guys through those tournaments. And yeah, now the season's rolling, and I get to see them some more, which is fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So so you got to see these guys, like you said, in the Hlinka and the World Junior. So that's even bonus, like you said. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? Last year we had 6 WHL players were selected in the first round. Kevin Korchinski, Matt Savoy, Connor Geeky, Matejchuk, Pickering, and Schaefer, and 4 in the top 12, which is pretty cool. So now what do you think about this year?
Yeah, this year I think will be volume-wise. I think I expect it to be higher for sure. I think 7 first-rounders seem kind of as like a floor. You could see upwards of 9 depending on how things go here. So I think this is a better year. Same with that kind of 4 in the first 12. I think there's 3, Bedard obviously at 1, and a couple more that I think are top 10 locks. And I think you could see 4 in that kind of top 10, top 15 range as well pretty easily. So yeah, last year was a fun year, was a good year. I think this year out of the West is even better.
Yeah, it's forward heavy this year, but nevertheless, like I said, like you said, there's going to be a lot of WHL players probably selected in the first round, which is going to be a lot of fun for you, obviously, to watch them. And like you mentioned, Connor Bedard, obviously, this kid's been talked about for a long time. And so, what makes him so special and the best choice for first overall at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he is as advertised. I think, he's definitely a clubhouse leader to go first overall. What sticks out first and foremost with him is just his shot creation ability. His shot itself is as good as I've seen at this age group ever. I think, he's the kind of player that you can kind of pencil in with Austin Matthews and Alexander Ovechkin, where 50 goals at the NHL level should be a expectation, not a special season for him. His release is just unbelievable, which is impressive from a fairly small frame. But yeah, he just puts his whole weight into it, plays with a really long stick, and can just absolutely rifle it. Beyond the shot itself, just his shot creation ability. He's always thinking about, where he's going to get his shots from. He's always locked and loaded and kind of ready to release. And he uses that to his advantage. He's patient, even though he shoots with such volume. He's not shooting at the first chance he gets. He's really patient. He baits a lot of overcommits because there's such fear of his shot that gives him, the time and space to get into even a better opportunity. So his shot creation's first and foremost. But it's not the only thing. Again, he's a pretty balanced offensive player. He has patience with the puck. His stick handling is outstanding. He can find his teammates with the best of them. So he's as complete and as special an offensive player as has come through at this age group in a long time.
No, absolutely. You know what? Everyone talks about his shot. And like you said, where he gets his shot creation and how he releases it too and stuff like that. Like he's just wicked with that shot. First player in WHL history to get the exceptional status. Was the WHL Rookie of the Year in a shortened season. Last year had 100 points in 62 games, like you said, 51 goals, 49 assists, 1.61 points per game, like just absolutely ripped it apart. So yeah, I don't, like last year, there was, obviously Shane Wright went 4th overall and he was, talked about for a long time, but then, things changed. Do you think that could possibly happen with Connor Bedard where he slips?
It can always happen, right? Like it's never chiseled in stone until the draft rolls around. But I would be surprised, and I would say if that happens, it'd be less of a soft year from Bedard. Like he's first in the league in scoring already through the first dozen games of the season. He's shooting. I think he has like 70 something shots, and the second best is in the 40s, right? Like he's still absolutely tearing it up to start the year. So I'd be surprised. And if it were the case that he'd be not number one, I think it'd speak to the strength of some of the other guys at the top as opposed to a down season from Bedard.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? He's got 21 points in 12 games, like you said, 10 goals, 11 assists already. So, you know, he's doing what he has to do.
Exactly.
And I don't, you know what? I don't see it either, but you never know. Like you said, nothing's set in stone, but you know, someone's going to have to push him out of that first place.
Sure.
And that's going to be tough. Although, you know, Adam Fantilli's tearing it up in the University of Michigan there, but we'll see what happens come down the stretch. Other than Bedard, who do you think, or who do you have as the highest expectations from your region, and why?
I think the player that comes to mind there is Zach Benson. I think he has a big opportunity to kind of cement himself as one of those top few players in this draft as well. He was fantastic throughout the summer, like the Hlinka, both the camp as well as the tournament itself. I thought he was one of the best players on the ice in every single game. His consistency is excellent. He really, really maximizes his line mates. No matter who plays with them, they seem to get the best out of them. So, Benson's a player that I'm expecting big things from. Playing in Winnipeg which is right now CHL top-ranked team in the country. He's a major piece there, and he's got a lot of weapons around him. So I think he could have a big year and really cement himself as a top 10. I think is pretty. I would expect that. Top 5, I think, is within his wheelhouse for sure.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you know what? I've watched some tape of Zach Benson, and I like his game a lot too, actually. And it's funny because a lot of the analysts have Brayden Yager ahead of him. And in my opinion, I like Zach Benson more than Yager. That's just my personal preference. But like I said, Bob McKenzie had him at number 7 on their TSN preseason ranking. The Hockey News has him at 9. You know, and he's got 14 points in 12 games already this year. So, you know, he's putting up some decent numbers already. And last year he had 63 points in 58 games. So, you know, pretty decent for a 16-year-old kid, obviously. And like you said, you saw him in Hlinka, and he was looking pretty deadly, eh?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think some of the hesitation with kind of ranking him higher, which is why I think a big season will be good for him, is just his measurables. He's, 5'9", 5'10", very slight. I think he's in the 150s or 160s. He's not the fastest skater out there. He's got very good edge work, and he avoids contact very well, but he's not a burner necessarily. So the physical tools don't scream superstar, but he is the smartest person on the ice, on any ice surface he's on. He's always a step ahead. He processes the game better than anyone. There's not a perfect comparable for what he is in the NHL right now, which I think can kind of put the pause on some prognostications on. But yeah, I think he's proven himself over the course of the last couple of years to start this year as one of the premier talents in this draft for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to keep on watching him. And like I mentioned, Yager before, he seems to be ranked pretty high as well in the preseason rankings. Do you think he can stay inside the top 10, top 5 come June? What makes him a standout, I guess, for Brayden Yager?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, he's right there with Benson for 2-3. I think that's where I'd have him and where I think most people have him. With Yager is almost the opposite, not necessarily the opposite of Benson, but with Yager, it's just he's such a pro. He plays such a pro style game, and he has since he was like 14, where it's very, very easy to imagine him in the NHL. Arguably now, like he plays such a complete two-way game. He can play any style. He can run and gun. He can muck it out in the corners. There's really no scenario where I'd have question marks about him. He plays the power play. He can play the penalty kill. He's absolute monster on the faceoff dot already, which is, I know, a concern for a lot of young centers. Can they transition to the NHL ranks and stay at center? I think there's no question that Yager can stay at that position. So yeah, if Benson is more of the, question mark but high ceiling, I think Yager is the safer of the two, just because, when I try to compare him to an NHL, like he looks like a Bo Horvat as a floor with the ceiling to be a little bit more, because he has after Bedard arguably the best shot in the draft. So he's a fantastic player as well. And again, top 10 I think is the expectation. Top 5 would not surprise me.
Yeah, you know what? Last year he had the CHL and the WHL Rookie of the Year. So, obviously a really good player, complete player, like you said. He's got 12 points in 10 games this year already. Hockey News has him at number 4. Bob McKenzie has him at number 4. So, yeah, high ratings, obviously, already. And like you said, complete game, 200-footer. So, going to be, again, just, 3 guys we just mentioned there already is pretty impressive in itself. So, it's going to be a fun year out in a dub. Who do you personally look forward to scouting this season, and why?
So for looking forward to, I think just by fun factor, it's got to be Andrew Cristall. He is just a bundle of fun, a walking highlight reel. He is one of the best puck handlers that you'll find, and he's got a great sense of timing and manipulating timing purposefully to force overcommits and things like that, just to make defenders look foolish. He also is one of the better passers that you'll find. Very clever, really understated moments throughout a game. So he'll bring you out of your seat almost every single game. He's already, I think he's at 15 points in 10 games. Like, he's already really poured on the points statistically. So I think that he's one of the more fun players to watch in this draft for sure.
Yeah, you know what? There's already a couple of highlight reels there. It was a couple of weeks ago where he deked out the defenseman and then just roofed it backhand on the goalie. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Last year he had 69 points in 61 games, so already putting up a point per game even before this season. So yeah, you know what? He's definitely a fun one to watch. Like you said, highlight reels and great hands and good passer too. So yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think skill-wise, he's right up there in that elite group, like the top 10 group. His skating is really, I think, what's going to determine where he goes in this draft. If he can really shore it up, I think people will bet on his skill level and take him high. But he's undersized and not the best skater right now, which might put some teams on pause. But other than that, I think he's a great talent to watch.
Good stuff. Yeah. All right. Nate Danielson is another guy that has been creeping up the rankings. What makes him special and possible first rounder?
For sure. Yeah. I think he's been slept on a little bit. I think he's another one that I think is a surefire first rounder. He's another one that I think pro teams will value maybe a little bit more than sometimes the public sphere does. Because he doesn't pour in points, but he plays a very professional game. He's got the size and he's got the skating combo that again teams always covet. He plays center, but again I think he could play any forward position. He has that versatility to kind of slot up anywhere. Really soft hands, balanced offensive game. He's not a high level creativity kind of guy. He doesn't have a lot of flash in his game, but with his soft hands and his decision making, he makes the right play more often than not. So I think he's not a player that I think will be a 100-point player at the NHL level, but I think he's a safe bet to be a top 6 center, and I think teams are really going to value him in the draft. So yeah, I expect him to be a first rounder for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, he's got good size too. They rate him or they list him at 6'1", 185. So he's already got pretty good size in him. The Hockey News has him ranked at 11. Bob McKenzie had 11 as well. Last year he had over a point a game in the dub, 57 and 53 for Brayden. This year he's got 10 and 12, so not bad. But like you said, he's pretty good complete player, eh?
Yeah, for sure. It was a bit of a slow start for him. I think he's got points in 3 or 4 games straight. And even, again, games he passes the eye test, I'll tell you, with flying colors. So I'm not super worried that the production hasn't exploded yet. I think he'll be more of a top 15 than a bottom 15 first round guy is kind of how I look at him right now.
Perfect. Who's your biggest sleeper in the dub and biggest riser from your reason, or I guess sleeper? We'll say sleeper.
Okay, so if I had to pick one, I think that Gracyn Sawchyn is probably a name that people are going to get more used to as the season goes on. Part of it is he's kind of jumped around. He was born in Alberta here, but he played last year with the U.S. National Development Team program, the U17s there, and now he's back up in the WHL here with Seattle. So he's bounced around a bit. So I think he's kind of an under the radar guy, but he's already started the season fantastically with Seattle. He's got 12 points in 8 games. There's no growing pains for him. He's jumped in and he's already one of the better players on one of the better teams in the league. He is just very calm and poised with the puck. He plays. He's not a big guy, but he's a small area asset for sure, just because of his quickness of thoughts, his ability to manipulate the puck in tight. He buys time for himself and teammates. Has good vision. He's a guy that again I think that just thinks the game well. Very good timing when in terms of darting in and out of soft areas. So he's a player that I think will continue to rise as people just get more eyes on him.
Yeah, you know what? Like you said, he's got 12 points in 8 games, and someone that probably, like you said, not a flashy name, but definitely putting up some points already and looking pretty good there with Seattle. So it's going to be interesting to see how his season plays out. But so far, so good, and I like that as a sleeper pick. What about who do you see being the toughest prospect to gauge in your region, and why?
For this, I think this one for me is easily Luca Dragicevic. He is an enigma for me. Has been since he was, in his minor hockey days. I really struggle to kind of project this player forward. He's got the NHL size and strength, 6'2", 180 pounds. Like he's filled out and he uses it effectively at the junior level. He also consistently has solid point production. I think he's got 11 points in 10 games. Like he's over a point per game defender. But there's just question marks in his game that I've so far struggled to kind of get around. I don't think his skating necessarily tracks to the NHL level. It's not bad at the junior level. But again, I think part of it is he's just stronger than everybody else at the junior level. So I don't know if his skating will track to the next level. His decision making has question marks. The Tri-City team that he's on really utilizes him a lot and almost as a rover at times. Like he's clearly the best player on his team, but the team hasn't been very good. So I kind of want to see him on a better team where he has to play more of a traditional defenseman role to kind of get a sense of what he looks like. So yeah, he's there's consistency issues with him as well. I know he made the Team Canada U18 World Championship team in the spring, and then didn't make the Holinka team in the summer, and I'd argue deservedly so. So that kind of thing shows maybe a brief glimpse into the kind of inconsistency he brings to the game as well. So he's one that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who think he's a slam dunk first rounder, and there's going to be others that think he's mid to late. So I think he'll be a tough prospect to gauge, and you'll get a lot of different opinions on him.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the Hockey News has him at number 34, so right outside the first round, and then Dauber has him at 28. So I think, and like you said, there's a lot of season to play out. Let's keep talking about some defensemen. Who do you think are some other top WHL D at this point in the season?
For sure, yeah. I don't know if there's one that separated themselves necessarily from the others, but I think there's a group of 3 that I think are all first rounder, fringe first rounder, early second round kind of guys. I'll start with Caden Price out in Kelowna. He has had the biggest jump for me from his 16-year-old season to this year. He came into the Holinka camp and blew the doors off. He was fantastic. His skating has gotten much improved. He's always been very athletic, but he's really refined his footwork in tight spaces and has become a force because of it. He can be suffocating at his best, right? He's a very aggressive defender, and he has got that shutdown potential. He's got good activity up the ice. I don't know if he'll necessarily be a huge point producer as he progresses up. He can overcomplicate things sometimes with possession, but he's got good activity level up the ice. He stays engaged. He's always tight to the play. So I think he's the kind of player that, again, I think NHL teams will covet because of his size, his athleticism, and his ability to play defense at this young age. I think he's maybe if I had to bet on which of the three that I'm going to talk about would go first, I think I'd probably go Caden Price as kind of the first option. The second name that kind of comes to mind is Luca Cagnoni in Portland. He's an offensive defenseman through and through. He is an excellent puck mover, fantastic seam passes, entry and exit machine. He is logs a ton of minutes for Portland and kind of does it all for them. Really calm and unflappable with possession, skates really well. He's a bit undersized. He can get a little bit exploited in kind of grinded down contests. But I think plays a pretty mature game. And I think he's a good threat to be kind of, again, in that first or second round conversation. And then the third guy would be Tanner Molendyk in Saskatoon. He's gotten off to a pretty slow start this year. I think he's got 3 points in 9 games. But I don't think that's indicative of what he is able to do. And even with the limited production, he's very, very, very excellent defensively as well. He's a great skater. Has great 4-direction mobility. He's solid on his feet. He's physical. He's not big. I think he's 5'11", 180 in that range. But he plays physical, and the strength on his feet means that he's definitely an asset in that area. So those are kind of the three names that kind of pop to mind as kind of the top grouping of defensemen in our region.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I really liked Molendyk's game at the Hlinka Cup, and same with Caden Price too. But yeah, Molendyk probably surprised me the most in the tournament there, and I thought he played a really, really well game. So yeah, I like those three too that you brought up, and so you know what? Let's talk about some other players. Any other players that you think could go potentially in the first round from the WHL?
For sure, yeah. There's a couple other. I think Riley Heidt is I would take him in the first round. I think he projects as a first rounder here. He is a supremely skilled player. Super high panic threshold to the point where sometimes he almost looks sleepy, like as if it's
wow.
just a Sunday stroll for him, right? But he's just a master with the puck. Excellent vision. Really likes to play distributor. I wish he'd shoot more because he has an excellent release. I'd say one of the better one-timers, which is kind of becoming a little bit of a lost art with the younger kids. His one-timer is fantastic with just a lightning quick release. So he is again a extremely balanced offensive player that I think will project well to the NHL level. A little bit undersized, but again, he just manipulates space so well and is so good on his edges that I have a hard time seeing him reach a ceiling where he can't break through. So I think he's a first rounder in my eyes. And then the other guy I think in the conversation is actually his teammate in Prince George, Koehn Ziemmer. Who again has gotten off to a fantastic start this year. I think he's third in league scoring, 17 points in 10 games. He is similar in a lot of respects, where I think his vision and his facilitation skills are kind of what will be his pathway to the NHL ranks. I think he'll be a major power play asset. Like, he's very good with that extra space. The only thing that puts Ziemmer below Height in my eyes is just skating. He's got a bit of a hunched over stride, not the quickest, but again, another player who I think is smart enough to make up for those limitations and could be a first round.
Yeah, you know what? Like you said, he's got 17 points in 10 games there, and actually Riley Heidt has 12 points in 10 games. So they're both doing pretty good on the score sheet already, which, nice that they're on the same team. You get to, see two great players in one game. It's awesome. Yeah. Well, you know what? I really appreciate the interview here. Thanks for, coming on the show here and giving us some insight on the Dub players. And wishing you the best of luck with FC Hockey. Check out the website, fchockey.com. Great stuff from Donesh and the crew there. And maybe we'll get you on probably in a few months down the road and see how these rankings have changed.
Sounds great. I look forward to it. It was a pleasure work. And you have a great year as well. And I'm sure we'll talk as we go on here.
Sounds good. And that's it. Have a good night.